Welcome into another week of Power 5 picks. We move on to week 6 of college football. And I also can't believe we had our first losing week on the show. I went 1-4. My only win was the over in Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Ethan, you went 1-3-1 with Kansas State on the spread as your only win, and you pushed on Notre Dame. So finally, a losing week. It only took us 5 weeks in. So we're still both profitable. I'm 14-12 overall, just under a unit of profit, and you are 16-9-1. You're still up there with about 6 units of profit there. So unfortunately, did not have a great week last week. It was a tough schedule. There were a lot of ranked games. I think we were on the right side in a lot of the games, but the public wins every once in a while, and some public sides hit. But Ethan, welcome. Hopefully we can do better this week. How are you feeling? Again, only one ranked matchup this week, so it's not the greatest schedule at all. Obviously, a big game for my Wolverines, but it's not a great college football schedule, so beware. But how are you feeling heading into week 6?
Yeah, sucks that we had our first losing week and then to get beat the way we did. I mean, not good, but like you said, we're both still at profit on the year. It's a long season. You're not gonna, you know, go 4-1, 3-2 every single week. So it's bound to happen. Yeah, kind of a weird week. I'm not feeling super confident in this week. This week's slate of games that we've picked to talk about here. Looking ahead on the schedule, we do have some great weeks coming up. Specifically, October 19th, 2 weeks from this week, is an absolutely phenomenal college football week. But yeah, I did terrible in September overall in betting every sport. So far, we've won every day in October. So I think it's going to be a good month, college football included. So let's get the first week of October kicked off with a winning record.
October 19th may go down, besides conference championship weekend or rivalry weekend, may go down as the greatest single day of college football in our lifetime. And the slate is unreal. I also saw it was one of the most popular days to have a wedding. So apologies if you're at a wedding during the best day of college football, probably of the decade. Again, excluding rivalry week and conference championships. But let's get into it. Our first ranked game and our only ranked game, ranked matchup, we have number 9 Mizzou at number 25, Texas A&M. A&M is a 2.5-point favorite, despite being ranked 16 ranks higher than Missouri, but they are at home. 2.5-point favorite there. Over under is sitting at 48. I'll send it to you first. This Missouri team is it might be the death of me.
Yeah, I don't know if this is one that I'm going to bet. Typically, we would look at that Texas A&M laying the points as the lower seed here, but if they were unranked, I'd pay a little bit more attention to it. I actually do lean Missouri plus the points on the road. It's not anything I love. I'm just not super sold on A&M. Their good wins are against Florida and Arkansas, which Florida is not a good win. They're not a good team. Arkansas isn't super great either. They did lose to Notre Dame, who I'm not super high on. Missouri hasn't had that great of a win yet. They beat Boston College, who I'm also kind of low on, and Vanderbilt took them to double OT, but I kind of like that result from Vanderbilt. Gave them a little bit of a scare before their bye week. They've had extra time now to prepare for Texas A&M. They have UMass on deck, who is no look ahead whatsoever. I think at the end of the year, I think UMass is just going to be the better team. No bye week ahead for Missouri. They do have a bye on deck, so they are going to put forth their best effort here, which is typically a play on spot. Ultimately, I just think Missouri off the scare in the double OT with extra time to prepare. I think they're ultimately the better team at season's end. So I'm going to just take the points with Missouri as my lean. But I don't know if this is a game I'm going to get involved with.
Yeah, I'm not high on Missouri at all. I've said multiple times in our preseason show throughout the first couple of weeks. I just said they're just a very overrated team, and then we saw it the last couple of weeks, winning by 6 points against Boston College. It turns out is not as good as they are after their win against Florida State, and then like you said, went to double OT with Vandy. I mean, that's very bad. That's nothing to be proud of there. But yeah, I think Texas A&M is a little overrated. I actually love Mizzou in this spot. I have them as well in the spread here. I think, like you said, that was a good scare for them, and I think they really focus up and realize that that they have to start playing like the number 9 team in the country. They do have a very easy schedule moving forward. So if they can, win against these ranked matchups, they're going to need to, and they can't take any game off like they saw last week. So I think they get refocused. And again, like you said, UMass on deck. They could probably win with their third stringers in that game. So I think they give a lot of effort at A&M. Very tough place to play. I like I like Missouri to win this game, probably by 2 touchdowns. I think they take it to A&M. We did see A&M lose at home to Notre Dame as well, which is turning out to not be that bad of a loss. But I'm in agreement. I like Missouri in this game. Moving on, we have a Big Ten matchup. We have Rutgers undefeated at Nebraska, who is 4-1. Nebraska is a 6.5 point favorite at home. Over under is a whopping 40 points here. And I hate this team, but I actually love Nebraska in this spot. I'm going to take them on the 6.5. It has come down a little bit. I think they opened at 7.5. So it's came down under a touchdown. I'm still okay with that. Rutgers is extremely overrated. They should have lost to Washington last week. They beat Virginia Tech, who's trash. Even though they did play Miami close, it's not a good win there. I just think Rutgers is extremely overrated. And Nebraska, sure, they lost to Illinois in overtime, but I think Illinois is a much better team than Rutgers will ever be. And Nebraska beat Colorado, who turns out may not be as bad as I want them to be either. I think Nebraska takes it to them at home. I'll take them within a touchdown. Rutgers, extremely overrated. And we just got to remember, it's freaking Rutgers. I know they get better, but it's freaking Rutgers. They are on the verge of being ranked, some people think. And that's ludicrous. They haven't beat anyone. They should have lost again to a terrible Washington team. Give me Nebraska at home. I think they hand it to them. Love the under. It's at 40. I mean, I could see this being like a 20-6 type of Nebraska win here.
Yeah, I thought we were going to differ on this one, but I'm right there with you. Lay it with Nebraska. I think it's the only way to play it. And yeah, you mentioned it. Rutgers should have lost last week. It was one of the most misinformed wins, I guess. Washington was by far the right side in that game. Bunch of missed kicks and things were just going right for Rutgers, and they ended up pulling that one out. That was a Friday night. Again, not a standalone game, but an all eyes on you game. So they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. I don't think they probably felt they would be a 4-0 team headed to Nebraska. And now they have Wisconsin on deck, a team which has been very good in the Big Ten in years past. Not so much this year, but I think they could be slightly just peeking ahead, thinking they have a shot to go and get a win against Wisconsin. Nebraska, on the other hand, has the bye on deck before their kind of gauntlet of a schedule. Well, not really. Indiana and then Ohio State. I doubt IU is still ranked by the time they get there. But yeah, I think they're going to put their best effort forward. They probably feel they should be undefeated. At this point in the year, they do have that one overtime loss to Illinois, but came back, bounced back, got a win at Purdue last week. And yeah, I think they're the way better team here. Rutgers is frauds. They're going to get their first loss. I think it'll be by more than a touchdown, so I would definitely lay it with Nebraska.
Yeah, I know I don't like Nebraska, but I also despise Rutgers coach. He was one of the front runners, besides I think Ryan Day, for the whole Michigan cheating scandal. If you're Rutgers, Michigan is not stealing your signs. They don't need to do it against you. Now, Ohio State maybe had a better argument because it's freaking Ohio State. Michigan was not stealing Rutgers signs. Again, they can beat Rutgers with JV guys. I know they won in overtime in the COVID year, but Michigan was terrible the COVID year. This is the team that Michigan beat 78-0. They don't need Rutgers signs, so I can't stand their coach. I hope they get absolutely throttled in this game, even if it means Walmart Mahomes gets his little shine in the social media here. I can go on rants on both those teams for days. Moving on, we got the new number one team in the country. That is Alabama. We talked about this team before at Vanderbilt. Vandy is, I'll just say this, they're not the same Vandy that they always are. They still suck, but they're at least keeping teams competitive. We already mentioned them taking Missouri to double overtime. They beat Virginia Tech, I believe, week one. They're just playing spoiler, and we're seeing Alabama right now at time of recording Thursday night. We are seeing Alabama as a 22.5 point favorite. This line opened at 24. Alabama is one of the most publicly bet teams this week on the spread. We're seeing major reverse line movement. And I know me and you like playing on scheduling spots. We are seeing a very big emotional hangover potential for Alabama. Obviously, winning against Georgia last week, the game of the year, number 2 versus number 4. dominated the first half of that game. Georgia came storming back. Both teams put a lot of effort in, and now Bama has Vanderbilt. I mean, we've all seen the meme out there with Jalen Hurts and the other guy saying, come to Vandy. This is real SEC ball, and then Bama destroys them like 70-0. This is a much different Vandy. This team, there's no emotional hangover spot. There's no even though they did, lose in double OT last, this team doesn't care. Each game they play, especially against ranked teams, especially against a number one team in the country, is their Super Bowl. So they are up and at them every single game. And I think they're going to play absolute spoiler. No chance in hell they win, but I have them on the cover. I got a little better line than it is now. I got 23.5, but for the show, I'll still give out the 22.5. Love Vandy. Terrible spot for Alabama.
Yep, I am with you. Actually, just before recording here, I did hear some stats which would make you back Bama in this situation. To the winner of a top 10 matchup the next week is covered like, I think it was like 67% of the time. And then if you're a favorite of like seven or more, it moved up to like 70 some odd percent. And then Vanderbilt was in a like 5 and 28 situation. Can't remember exactly there. However, I just feel like it's a little bit different in this spot here, which is why I'm still going to back Vanderbilt. Um, it was more than a top 10 matchup. It was Georgia, it was Alabama. I mean, it's a national championship previous matchup that we've seen. It's the two juggernauts that have been in college football for the last 10 years, outside of maybe Clemson. But I just think it's got to be a hangover spot. Not only that, but the way that Georgia came back in that game and Bama had to fight them off, give up the lead, and then come out and still get that 75-yard touchdown pass to win the game. It was just a crazy way to end the game. There were, they couldn't take their foot off the pedal and start shipping it in. Well, they did, and it almost cost them. And then Vanderbilt, on the other hand, like you said, different than what we're used to. They had a bye last week. They are 2-2 on the year, but they've stepped up in both games that are against anyone worth noting. Beat Virginia Tech week 1 in overtime. I had Vatech minus 2 touchdowns in that game. It was never even close. And then they lost in double OT to Missouri, which we just touched on. So they step up when it's their turn to play a big team. They're probably sick and tired of getting smoked by Alabama every single season, every time that they play. Yeah, I just think the spot here for Bama is pretty bad. After this Vanderbilt game, they have South Carolina, and then it's the gauntlet of their schedule: Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU, three straight ranked opponents at this time. Um, so yeah, I think Bama could get up big. Bama might cover the first half spread, but I think they're going to take their foot off the gas. Vanderbilt has a team that can now come through the back door and actually put up a few points and get that cover. So, um, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think Vanderbilt is ultimately the side. I do think they end up covering this game.
It's never a good sign when you take Vanderbilt on the cover against Alabama. But again, sometimes the ugly bets win. From a betting aspect, like I said, a lot of reverse line movement in this game. I hate Vandy, but I think Vandy's probably the right side here. Moving on to my game, we have a national championship rematch, number 10, Michigan at Washington. This lines came back down to earth a little bit. It got a little crazy at one point. Washington is now a 1.5 point favorite. Over under sitting at 41.5. Washington got up to 3 at one point here, 3 points, which is a little mind boggling. I know Michigan is not the national championship Michigan team that we saw last year. They have major offensive struggles, but Washington also is not a great team either. And coming off a loss against Rutgers, again, they should have won that game, but they still lost. It's crazy that the line got up to 3. So I'm going to send it to you first, but this is an alarming game, I think, for bettors, and a very alarming game for me as a Michigan fan. But who do you got in this national championship rematch?
Yeah, last time these two played, I believe we both made a lot of money on that game. Uh, for one of the first times in my life, I was a big Michigan fan in that one. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite as easy this time around. I am going to take Washington. Um, the line is fits right in with the way we like to bet these games. The unranked team at home as the favorite, especially against a top 10 team in Michigan with the Natty revenge. Although teams are much different than what they were just 9 months ago or whenever they played that national championship. Both coaches now gone. Quarterbacks are different. A lot of the receivers and the offensive weapons are different. So it's not a true revenge game per se. And these teams just aren't national championship caliber at this point in the year. But yeah, you mentioned it, or we both mentioned it. Washington should have won last week. They didn't, and now they're still favored. So I think um, I feel like the line is taking that into account that they probably were the right side in that game. But this is also Michigan's first road game of the season, traveling all the way across the coast or across this country to Washington. Yeah, I like Washington at home. I think the line is fishy. Michigan has a ranked matchup with Illinois on deck, although they do have their bye week first. So there's not going to be a look ahead spot. But yeah, I just Michigan pulled off the win against Minnesota last week, but it was close. It did get a little nervous there for you at the end. Um, I just don't know if Michigan's going to be able to hang on to a lead if they have it. They're not putting up the points like we were used to seeing last year. So I think Washington's probably the play here. So I will lay it with them. Yeah, just ultimately a fishy line.
Yeah, I am going to have to agree and take Washington. I will be
Whoa.
completely honest with you guys. I've already locked in Michigan with a free bet. I get a free bet. I use a bookie, and sometimes if you pay him the week prior, he gives you a free bet. So I got a free bet, put it on Michigan. So no real money for me on Michigan, and I will not be taking Washington with any real money. I never bet against my boys, even if it is the right play. But Washington's hands down the right play in this game from every betting aspect you look at it here. This line being, and it finally got down because we're approaching game time, which everyone's, again, they've been pounding Michigan all week. The line's been sitting at 2.5, 3. Finally, it comes down to I think Michigan's plus 100 now on the money line. But finally, it took us 5 days since these lines came out on Sunday to come back down to a plus 100 on the money line. It just, from a betting aspect, it is 100% Washington. It's Washington all day. I am terrified for Michigan. I do think their defense is going to keep them in this game. I'm not super sold on Washington's offense at all, but Michigan has absolutely no offense. So it's going to be a sweat no matter how you look at it. Again, I refuse to bet against Michigan, but it is the play. It is the right play. For Washington. And again, I think it's a big thing, the first away game, which is crazy for Michigan. I don't know how they always get away with that, but every single year their first away game is like 5 or 6 weeks into the season. But having that first away game being 2,000 miles away against a national championship team you played a year ago, just a lot of emotions, a lot of travel, obviously, just a really bad spot to have your first away opponent. And they're not playing good ball right now. So yeah, Washington's the play. Again, free play. I'm betting on Michigan. I'll probably be betting Michigan again, like I always do, 2 minutes before kickoff. But for the graphic, Washington, and it's probably the sharpest play, honestly, of the weekend. Washington and Vandy might be the sharpest plays of the weekend. Let's be completely honest with you guys. But yeah, me and Ethan's philosophy, sometimes ugly bets are good bets. But I don't want to talk about that game anymore because I'm going to be very upset if I keep dissing my boys in blue. But yeah, let's go to the joke of college game day. I don't know how they got away with this schedule, but college game day is at Cal. Um, they're the nightcap tonight or on Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. They are hosting number 8 Miami. Again, I think this is just an excuse to have game day in California with all these Libby boys there. It's a joke of a game, and it's a joke of a line too. Miami is a 10.5 point favorite. Cal is crap. Cal lost to Florida State, giving Florida State their only win of the year. Florida State is very bad. Florida State's 1-4, and that's who Cal lost to. We see Miami. I was very heavily against Miami last week. Really thought Virginia Tech pulled it off, but unfortunately came up just short. But they covered the 17-point spread with ease. I got to back Cal again, so I'm on Cal, and I don't know why the line is like this. Maybe because Miami has to travel across the country. Maybe because people are seeing that Miami lost close to Virginia or won close against Virginia Tech, but all the bets are coming in Miami. The line's at 10, 10.5. I might as well just finish off this ugly, ugly board with Cal on the spread, and I've actually bet it. I actually got them at +10, a crappier line than it is now, but it's got to be Cal, and I'm not proud of that.
Make it easy on the viewers this week because I am on Cal plus the 10.5, or yeah, 10 or whatever it is sitting at. So yeah, I think that makes us on all the same 5 plays here, but
Are we?
I think so.
Oh shoot, we might be.
Uh,
Yeah.
hey, that makes it easy. Uh, I like Cal quite a bit, to be honest with you. I'm not bought into Miami. I'm still not bought into their head coach, even though he hasn't done anything dumb this year. Last year still burns a hole into my brain. But what, Miami's beating Florida, who's a complete joke. Florida A&M, South Florida. They're playing all these low-level Florida teams and just beating the shit out of them. And then Ball State and Vatech, who neither team is really that good. Well, mostly talking about Vatech there, but not high on Miami. I feel like Cal is just the team that covers these spreads and wins these games outright. Like I feel like I just remember the last couple of years waking up from like a night out, checking the late night scores. It's like, oh shit, Cal beat Oregon State last night, or they're like a 14-point dog and they won outright. I just feel like they're kind of that team, especially at home. You mentioned the travel for Miami all the way across country, game day at Cal. Not only that, but Cam Ward coming from the Pac 12, playing at Washington State last year. Cal actually beat them last year, 42-39, with Cam Ward at quarterback. So they're going to be familiar with his game. Um, yeah, everything kind of just lines up on Cal for me. I think it's just too many points here. I wouldn't be that shocked if Cal wins outright. I I don't know. I could see it happening. I think it's going to come down to the final possession of the game. So I think 10.5 is a nice spread to have. But yeah, give me Cal, cover the spread. Don't call me crazy if they get the dub.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention regarding Miami, they have a bye next week. So they do have 2 weeks off until their next game, but their entire season depends on that game on the 19th, and that's between they're at Louisville. So they could already be planning ahead with that. I know they have a bye week in between, but again, that's their entire season. They then have Florida State, who is supposed to be good, is ass. They have Duke, who's ass. They have Georgia Tech, who's ass. They have Wake Forest, who's ass, and they have Syracuse, who's ass. So that's their remaining schedule. That's all that's standing in the way of potentially an undefeated season is Louisville in 2 weeks, and now they have Cal. Yeah, I would love for Cal to win this outright. And if Miami does go undefeated or does make the college football playoff, I am 100%. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care what the spread is. I'm betting against them hands down, easily hammering the opponent because this team is just they don't play anyone. The ACC's trash this year. They don't play Clemson. They'll probably play Clemson in the ACC championship. I hope. But this team, I don't know. It's like USC last year. They have Caleb Williams like quarterback and Cam Ward. He just runs around in circles and dices up terrible defenses. And they have absolutely no defense. And if you put any good secondary against Cam Ward, he's probably going to get picked off 4 or 5 times. So yeah, I'm not. I really despise Miami. I despise a lot of teams. If you guys can't tell, my heart is very full of hate. I apologize for all that, but yeah, it's I love Cal. The more I'm thinking about it, but I already said I locked that one in. I've locked in Michigan. I've locked in Vandy. Did not take Nebraska yet. Did not take Mizzou yet, but I probably will be taking those pretty shortly. But again, apologize for not a whole lot of different views here. Sometimes me and Ethan are seeing everything the same. It's usually a good thing. And again, apologies for the schedule. It's not a great schedule. I'm excited for the weekend because of Michigan's game, but as a college football fan, it's probably not the most exciting week. But that's what happens when you have a week like last week, and then a week coming up in a couple weeks here. You get a couple bad weeks in here. But do you have anything to add before we close out for week 6?
No, I got nothing. I'm on Michigan State Friday night plus 24. Like
Yep.
that spot a lot for them. So get on. I guess that's tonight when you guys are watching this. So get involved in that. If you like Michigan State, I like them quite a bit. But yeah, other than that, I mean, enjoy the games on Saturday. We got playoff baseball going. We got NHL actually coming up here, regular season. So sports are in a good state right now. Yeah, just best time of year. Well, one of the best times of year.
Yeah, I will say next week is also a great week in the Big Ten. Also, look ahead spots. Part of the reason why I like Michigan State, they are playing Oregon, who has Ohio State next week, and then USC and Penn State play next week as well. So a really big weekend in the Big Ten next week. And then obviously, like we said, on the 18th or 19th of October is going to be a massive slate. So make sure you do follow us on Twitter. I have a decent slate already posted, or sorry, already bet on for college football. So follow us on Twitter for all of our official plays. Hopefully, we can get us back on a profitable schedule here in Power 5 picks. But thank you guys for tuning in. No lives this weekend. I'm with my in-laws, so don't think my father-in-law will care me just talking about gambling every morning. So no live this weekend. We'll be back on Monday for our NFL live. But we appreciate you guys. Good luck this weekend. Hope you guys all win some money, and we will see you next time. See you guys.
See you Monday, guys.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spots from the bottom to the top, eh? Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.